everybody, and welcome to another episode of Death By, where contestants will earn reps for their arguments for a chance to stand on top of the podium pedestal. I am your host, Lauren Kalil. Whoever I decide has the best argument through the final round will earn 30 seconds to talk about a topic of their choosing. On today's episode, we want to thank our sponsors, Thirdzy. The Open, it might be over, but I still need to get some good sleep, especially as I'm traveling on the road. Quarterfinals is right around the corner, and you know that prioritizing sleep is going to help with recovery, performance, and just life in general. Something that I love specifically is the little travel bags that you get. I know Tommy was just overseas in London, a big time difference for him all the way from California. Those are going to help you on your travels to make sure that you get your Thirdzy in, especially because it's one of those supplements that you can take every single day. It's non-habit formatting, and there is no melatonin in it, so you don't need to worry about your sleep habits getting disturbed or feeling groggy when you wake up in the morning. If you want to get 20% off of your order for Thirdzy, just go to thirdzy.com. That's ThirdZY.com. You can save money today. We also have that QR code up that you can scan, and we will keep it up throughout the entire show. Now, on today's episode, we have two-time Affiliate Cup champion and seminar staff head trainer, James Hobart, CrossFit semifinal athlete, Ellia Miller, and CrossFit coach, Kenny Johnson. Welcome to the show. First time. We'll see if he can get enough points on the board to stay in the game. But James, he has a new background today. He's feeling a little bit official now that the Open is over.
Oh yeah, I'm prepared today. Didn't just do the roll off the workout into the podcast. So feeling professional for sure.
It's going to be a good show. We have a lot to talk about as we wrap up the Open. So let's get into it. Let's play Death By. Topic number one. Looking back a couple weeks ago at 24.2, Tudor Magda originally had a score of 1,001 reps, earning him the top spot for the workout. But after CrossFit reviewed his video, he received penalties on his deadlift extensions, costing him the win. For the women, Emily Claw won 24.2, completing 926 reps. However, she did not submit a video. Per the current ruling, CrossFit still granted her the win, but did not pay her the prize money. Of course, as the internet goes, everybody has an opinion on this. What do you guys think? Was this the best way to handle the scenario, or should there be a different way? And if so, what? James, we will start this round with you.
Oh boy. Is this specifically the Emily Claw question? Oh man. Okay. What do I think? I think I'm going to stick to the rulebook and just make this easy on myself right here. You're looking in the CrossFit Games rulebook. I believe it says for cash prizes, $2,024 awarded each week, top score, blah, blah, blah. Top athletes are advised to record and retain videos of all their open performances, as these may be required by CrossFit. I think people might just want a little bit more definite language there. But I think it's fine for CrossFit to say, hey, you need to have a video in order to get the cash prize. But they also want to instill power in their affiliates, because we do say you can validate scores. The affiliate manager can validate scores without having a video of it. So you still want to make sure you empower that clause of the rulebook. So I think you have to let her score stand. And you'll see this, I think, change slightly in the future. Maybe they'll find a way to handle this a little bit differently. I think it's fine the way they handled it. Would have loved to see her performance. Sick athlete, amazing name, incredible performance. But yeah, I think to win that money, you got to have that video, and it's in the language in the rule book. So that's all I have to say on it.
I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper, James. No, but just thinking about moving forward, and we obviously want to progress the sport forward. If you were to make a change, would there be one, or are you good with exactly how the rule is written currently?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's really hard, because I think if you say, well, if you don't have a video and you have a top 50 score, now we have the onus of reviewing a ton of video footage, which however you feel about it, that is a cost of that process. Two, if you say, well, if you don't have a video, we're going to move your score down, that really screws up the rankings, might change how somebody gets ranked in the open, and that might matter to them, might matter to the rest of their season. I think this is a really tough one to handle. And in allowing Emily to continue with her season as she performed, validated by her affiliate, I think CrossFit did that. And then I think they also stayed in line with the rule book. I'm not, I just don't have a great answer. Maybe I'm going to lose some points. I'm not quite sure what the next best step is. Because what if we do say, hey, you don't have a video, you finished the top 50 scores, we're going to pull your score. Like, that's devastating. So I don't think that's the right option either. I don't know on this one. Glad I'm not the decision maker.
Glad I'm not the decision maker either, but I am the decision maker of how many points you get. I'll give you 2 because even though you didn't give a solution, you still gave some good examples of why you're okay with the outcome. Ellia, what are your thoughts on this one?
All right. So, like James said, according to the rule book, the way it's written, they handled it the way that the rule book, they handled it the way that follows the rule book. I believe this is a change from previous years because when I read through this year's rule book, one of the notes that I made, and I looked back on it yesterday to double check, was that in previous years, you had to have videos in order to advance to quarterfinals if they were requested by CrossFit. This year, they removed that from the rule book, so now videos are no longer required to advance to quarterfinals. In a way, I understand where they're coming from because it's a much bigger percentage going to quarterfinals. And, at the end of the day, they're still going to have that video review to get from quarterfinals to semifinals. However, the way that they handled this situation and the way that they changed the rulebook this year sets a precedence to say, okay, I don't need to record videos. If Tudor had said, hey, I don't have a video, yeah, he would have forfeited the money, but he would have kept his top score because they wouldn't have given him a penalty. And what's to say that if Emily did have a video to submit, that she wouldn't have gotten a penalty and her score would have dropped and then she wouldn't be the worldwide winner. You don't know without the video because Tudor's score was verified by the affiliate owner. So just because it's verified doesn't mean that it's an accurate score. I don't know if this is true. I saw somewhere that when they asked Emily for her video, she redid the workout and tried to match her score, but she got a lower score in her video. If that was true, then I think the appropriate way to handle it would have been, okay, the video that you submitted is now your score since you can't provide evidence of your previous score. But I don't like that they allow somebody to win a workout without video evidence because it sets a really bad precedence moving forward for every athlete to say, oh, I don't have a video, but it was validated by my affiliate manager, so I get to keep my score.
4 points for Ellia. Kenny, what's your take?
Okay, so first, I think it's great that they're still trying to incentivize people to go fast and go hard by getting a cash prize out there. I think that I heard a lot of things when even the quarterfinals went out to 25% that now the open is a little less significant, but we want to see these awesome performances. And by putting some money on the line, it gives athletes a reason to go and say, man, this wheelhouse for me, I'm going to go crush it, even though it might not be that important that I finish in the top 10. We want to see these awesome results. We want to see our best athletes throwing down and going for it. And that being said, you got to have a video in order to get that money because it's the only way on a virtual competition we have a chance to verify. And I also would agree with James that it's putting some onus on the affiliates for everybody else to hold the standard, coach your athletes, make people move well. And we're going to trust that you guys can do that. But if you're going to come here and you're going to show up and show out and give us all you can in order to win this money, you got to send the video. My question is, why would you submit a video as a top athlete that had questionable movement? Not only are you asking for the whole community, which we're really good at, as you said, the internet always wins, at pointing out other people's flaws, putting something in there that was even remotely questionable is just opening yourself up for a lot of criticism. I saw yesterday that Annika Greer looked at her video. She had a top score for 24.3. It was like, I don't love all of my thrusters. So she went and redid it again. In the meantime, somebody else Rebecca came out and crushed her, and that's okay. But like, look at your video. This is what we do. If you want that money, you want that score, it's not that hard. Look at your reps, put it out there for the world to see, and show off how awesome you are. That's what we want. So we do need the video review. I'm actually really okay with everybody else. We know no one's watching whatever 25% counts as for the rest of the community. Nobody's watching all of those videos. We put some ownership on the affiliate to really hold that standard. But if you want to win some money, go out there and show your video. And then last, the thing I want to say is like the arbitrary punishment that they gave Tudor, that's maybe a bigger question. What is 20% even? And that's a whole nother ball of wax. So if you're going to review the video, there's probably got to be some credibility to what that review looks like as well.
I think it's interesting because, so let's play the what if card. What if Tudor didn't submit a video? Does it really matter if he were to win the workout, not get prize money? Regardless, he's advancing. But I guess when I think of this question and this topic as like a big blanket statement is, does it really matter? And I'm curious what you guys think. Ellia was talking about setting the precedent. So I'm curious where or if that comes into play in the bigger conversation.
I'm just in it emotionally. I'm just in knots now. Now I'm like, well, maybe they should have to give videos to be in those top spots. But I, in my head, I'm trying to think about, okay, you want to accomplish a couple of things. You want to get top athletes to participate in the open. One, for everything Kenny just said, like seeing these performances are amazing. Like seeing how fast people did that 24.3 was mind blowing to me. And also really awesome to see how far the community has come. So there's that. The other thing is like, do less people sign up for the open if we don't provide incentive for the top athletes to participate as well? And I agree. It's like, I know I haven't put out a perfect rep every workout I've ever done. And so it's like, it definitely is the case that despite affiliates and coaches' best efforts, are some reps being missed and scores being validated? Yeah, 100%. There's just too many reps to count for that to not be the case. But we just seem way less concerned with the people who are in 25th, 1000th place for obvious reasons. So maybe I am leaning back toward this concept of, hey, if you are going to be in the top 10 spots, you have to have a video for that score to count.
So what if they don't, is the score just invalidated, or would they then get a 20% penalty, or what would you see from that? Also, Kenny, you got 3 points for that answer. I forgot to give that to you.
I don't necessarily know. I'd be curious to hear what everybody else thinks. I don't know what the penalty would be for that. Maybe it is something that is really harsh. And they think about some other rules to give people time to like upload videos or redo a workout and re-upload a video just to try and catch all those exceptions. The other thing is this, and I don't want to sound like I'm passing the buck. I think the system will continue to get better and always needs to get better. That being said, if this issue is only happening with 2 out of 344,000 people, like we're doing okay. And again, that's never a reason to be complacent. That's not what I'm saying. But I think things are moving in the right direction is what I'm saying. And it's like, I don't think some drastic change is going to make it even better. Like this change does need to be incremental. But hey, maybe videos for the top 10 is a good place to start.
I
Ellia,
don't think there's I don't think there's any issue with saying, hey, you didn't submit a video, so we're going to invalidate your score. This is completely normal for top level athletes to record their workouts. Everybody does it for every other online qualifier that exists. Everybody does it for quarterfinals. Like, why would it be any different for the open? Why would you assume that you don't need to record a video? And when we talk about it being harsh, I mean, there have been harsh punishments handed out by CrossFit in previous years. Kenny brought up Annika Greer, her quarterfinals, what was it, 2 years ago, where she didn't submit her score on time. And that was harsh. She had the video evidence to prove that she did it before the deadline, but she didn't submit her score. And CrossFit didn't give her an exception for that. So why would this be any different?
Yeah, I don't want to step on some other things that we're going to talk about, but I think part of it is we have to figure out what is the purpose of the open, and it kind of shifts every year. And we're sort of seeing where they went this year and the direction, to say that if Tudor would have stood up all of his reps, would have he won the workout anyhow? Maybe. To say that he's probably going to move on to the quarterfinals, almost assuredly. But asking what the purpose of the Open is in the greater test and the greater journey to the CrossFit Games in this capacity in this year, I think by allowing so many people through into the next phase, it really diminished maybe this specific score. And so I'm really comfortable with this idea of, again, like, let's put the ownership on the affiliate to coach the movements and hold people to the highest standard that the methodology asks for. And if you want to play this game to win money, I'm going to agree with everybody else. Every elite athlete, for almost every workout they do every day, puts a camera on it in order to learn something. That's not that hard to record it. And if you want the money, you want to have that fame, you're going to have to submit that score and let somebody else watch it.
Okay, let's tie a little bow on this. We could talk about this for a whole hour and a half, but we're going to move on to topic number 2, just kind of a blanket to begin with. What are your overall thoughts on the programming for the Open? And Kenny, we will start this round with you as a coach. I'm sure that you have some feedback and some ideas on what you thought about the Open's programming.
Yeah. I think it's super easy to be critical of programming in your gym, in competition, in the Open. For the CrossFit Games, it's easy to be that Monday morning quarterback. But I started to talk about it in the last answer. What is the purpose of the Open? And I think for the first time in a lot of years, CrossFit, without actually coming out and saying it, told us what the purpose of this Open was. We opened up to 25% going on to quarterfinals. We came out with no floor plans. We came out with pretty high motor, simple exercises. We got to go fast and short. We got to go long and grindy. We got to go a little bit skill and a little bit heavy, and certainly some big power on the last workout. So we touched a lot of what looks like a full test. And if the goal is to bring the community together, to make it easier on the affiliate, we didn't have to cross distances. We didn't have to set up our gym where we could only run 2 people at a time. It really allowed for some of the magic of the Open, lots of people working out at the same time, throwing down with hard workouts with a lot of, or really low barrier to entry. Maybe started to deviate from that in the very last workout. I think they really did a great job of making this a fun and inviting environment right up until the very end there. But what they did is put such a huge ownership on the next phase of programming. There's so much that needs to go into the quarterfinals now based on the choices that they made here. I feel great about the Open programming. I think it was awesome to watch people get that first muscle up, to grind through some heavier weights for them. And then we also still got to see elite athletes rip these things a new one in ways that most of us mere mortals will never even dream of.
Yeah, when your time is like 3 times slower than the top percentage, that is humbling. 3 points for Kenny. James, you must have loved the programming because you repeated these workouts 2, 3, maybe even 4 times.
Yeah, no, I really did like the programming this year. I think I take a much different approach to it. And I'll say this, I always like Open programming. And that's not just because I work for CrossFit. I just really like the Open. And I've said this before, for me, it's like fitness nerd Christmas, the excitement, all of that stuff. And so it's like, even if I look at a workout, I'm like, I don't, there was that overhead lunge, handstand walk, strict handstand push-up, step up, something from a couple years ago. And I did that workout and I was like, yeah, I don't ever think I'll do that again. Didn't love it, but I still like what comes out of the Open.
One of my favorite ones, James.
And that's also what I like about the Open is there's plenty of opportunity to appreciate all the flavors. But to Kenny's point, my perspective now as a coach, I really liked this Open because of the no floor plans. I liked how easy it was for our affiliate to run it and other affiliates I talked to. That was a huge win for me because ultimately I do think one of the primary goals of the Open should be to give as many affiliates an opportunity to participate as possible. I think that should be the first step. And one of the easiest things to do is make it easier to do these workouts inside of a 60 minutes, just in case they're not running a Friday Night Lights or a Saturday morning event, even though a lot of affiliates do that. So from my perspective, that was a huge win for the Open. I think it could be even taken a step further, but maybe we talk about that in the next question. I think I just would have liked to see toe to bars, but again, I'm just like nitpicking here on little things. It was fantastic. So no major complaints for me. even though everyone really got worried about the hinging two times across 2 weeks. But that's a different topic of conversation.
That is a whole different can of worms. 3 points for James. Ellia, the open programming. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I mean, James referenced it a little bit. Everybody complaining about the hinging and jumping and then hinging and jumping. Um, I think kind of related to what Kenny was saying, I don't know quite how I feel about the open programming yet, and I think part of it is going to depend on the quarterfinals programming. Um, I would have liked to see more skill, I guess, and maybe more weight in the open. Um, but it, I don't know if the open is supposed to be inviting for everybody, that's one thing. But if the open is supposed to be the start of the competitive season, then that's a different focus completely than saying, hey, we're going to make this inviting for everybody. So maybe the open shouldn't be part of the competitive season anymore. I don't know. It didn't feel like, hey, we're going to test your all around CrossFit fitness to start the competitive season. It felt like, hey, we're going to make this accessible for everybody. Everybody can attempt to RX the workouts. And like, yeah, that's great if you want to say, hey, everybody can RX this workout, but that's not, that goes against what CrossFit says, where they say program for the best and scale for the rest. There's nothing wrong with scaling, and that's why they introduced the scaled and the foundations divisions. Like, that's the point of those divisions, is to be able to have more high skill, heavier weights for the top athletes. And then if you don't have those skills yet, or you can't move those weights yet, then you scale. So I didn't completely hate it, but I was a little disappointed. I wanted something a little bit more like all around CrossFit, rather than just how hard can you suffer for 3 weeks.
I mean, I suffered pretty bad on that first workout.
Oh, I did too.
Anyone else? 4 points for Ellia. You bring up a good point. My question is, if you were to remove the open from the competitive season, would games athletes participate?
And that's the thing. Do we want games athletes to participate in the open? Is that important to the open? And if it is, then we find other ways to incentivize that participation. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I think CrossFit needs to decide, is the open for the community or is the open for the competitive season?
I disagree slightly. I really like the point about scaling, though, because I've never thought about it like that. So I think that was a really cool point, because that is something we could probably bring to light harder in the open, because the open always seems like, oh, this is an excuse to go RX for 3 weeks. And I'm not taking away like anybody getting their first double under a bar muscle up. I think that's really important and part of it. But I actually think CrossFit should continue to try to balance both. Hey, can we make this a really good, inclusive, everybody gets to play community event and elite athletes participate? I'm not saying it's possible, but I'm also not saying it's impossible. And the reason I think it's so important for us to continue to try to do that is I don't really know of any other sport or fitness sport event that can hang their hat on that kind of participation across that broad spectrum of ability level compared to the open. There might be one out there. I might not be thinking of it, but I think that is something really unique to CrossFit that we should continue to try to explore. Maybe we do get to a point where we're ultimately like, yep, it can't be done really, really well, so we have to focus on just one of those. But I do think it, because of how significant it is, it merits a little bit more exploration to see how well we could do both in the same event. But I agree that it's not perfectly done.
I'm going to go ahead and say I've gone back and forth too many times on this thing to go, should it be this? Should it be that? And for the first time, I think I fell on it should be for the community, but ... There's no reason that it can't be part of the competitive season if we take the open seriously enough to go, okay, we tested, you touched on it, like we tested, can you suffer? And that is part of what we do. Can you go long? Can you go short? Can you go medium? And can you just hurt? But we're going to erase everything that just happened in the next phase, which means that you probably have to test that again in order to see if you can continue to keep the right athletes going along. If you just used this and then rolled some of those scores like they used to do for the Masters into the next phase, you can go, great, we tested this back here. It counts. You get the benefit from what you were able to do. However, now we're going to go heavy. Now we're going to go more skilled. Now we're going to do all of the other facets. It allows you to make a more well-rounded test. It keeps all of the elite athletes as a part of it. We want these people to be a part of our community. We want them in our classes, but test something that is accessible. Like James said, I would have probably preferred to see a toe to bar instead of even a bar muscle up to just stay with the trend that they were going with on this week. But then roll those scores forward a little bit so that people do try and that it shows, yep, we can suffer. That should count as part of your focus. And then we don't need to test it again for the rest of the way through.
So tying it all back, if it's going to matter moving forward, then we need to talk more about video review in the open.
Then
maybe.
all of these conversations, they merge together.
Yeah, and maybe you just dump more money into it. Like, hey, that's how you incentivize people. If you're like, hey, maybe it matters less of the qualifying. Hey, there's just gonna be, it's an exhibition. There's tons of money involved for the top X spots. You got a video review. I don't know. I'm always a fan of getting people paid.
Agreed.
I think we can all agree on that one. Okay, moving on now to our final topic to tie a bow on the open, at least for right now. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of these topics continuing through the season. But if you were to give the open as a whole, from the workouts, the programming, the videos, all these things we're talking about, the broadcast, what would be the grade that you would give the open, and kind of go into why it was an A+, why it was a C-, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to hear all of it. And Ellia, you will start this round.
Okay, so many things to talk about. So I think I kind of already said I was a little disappointed in the programming. I was disappointed in some of the technical difficulties with the open announcements. Week one having those commercial breaks that it kept cutting to or whatever. A workout getting leaked early. That was all kind of disappointing, but I think there was also a lot of really good things about the open. I liked, James brought it up. There was no floor plans this year. That made it a lot easier for myself on filming requirements. And it also made it a lot easier as a coach to run the open in class, or, we do our open on Saturday morning. So it was a lot easier to run that without the floor plans. It was having the bar muscle ups in there, I thought was really exciting, because that was an opportunity for like the open magic and to see people get their first muscle up. Or like we had a girl in our gym who got her first muscle ups in over a year since a shoulder injury. So like that was really cool to see. And the fact that the programming, at least in week 3, allowed for that was really cool. I liked the way that they did the open announcements. I liked having Dave Castro back for 24.1. I thought it was pretty cool to have Seth Rollins and Jocko for 24.2 and 0.3. I like, having the elite athletes go head to head. And then also in week 3, bringing in the community heat. That was really cool. So overall, I think there was a lot of really good with the open. I think I would probably give it, and I think my grade could possibly change based on how quarterfinals goes, but for now, I think I'll give it a B.
A solid B. Not bad. You're still passing. You might even get taken out to ice cream by your parents for
What
that
do you mean
report
not
card.
bad? Bees go on like the refrigerator when I was growing up. No, I'm just kidding. Got like a puppy if I got a B.
3 points for Ellia. Kenny, your grade, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Oof. Yeah, man. I got B's to keep my parents off my back. If that was smooth sailing from that point on. Again, CrossFit's at its best when it defines terms, going all the way back to like the What is Fitness article. We decided what that was, and it made it really clear to talk about what we were doing. I think the part of knowing what the open is about allows you to grade it objectively. And again, they didn't come out and say it this year that it's about the community or it's about the affiliate, but based on how they set everything up, it seems like that's the direction that they wanted to go. They made it accessible. They made the floor plans much more doable than last year. I wasn't up right at the end of the open announcement with an impact gun ripping my rig apart in order to set up burpee pull-ups, like made it infinitely easier for the affiliate. And so once we know what it's for, it's a little easier to grade it. And I'm going to say, because it seems like they went community first and really accessible, I'm going a B+, because right up until the very end, I feel like they hit the nail on the head. I would have preferred to see probably 21.3/4 to give Ellia more credit than I want to steal those points. But like, it would have given that open magic, would have gotten people to that gate where they were able to do a bar muscle up if they could get through the other progressive gymnastics. And it would have given everybody an opportunity to lift, which everybody loves. So maybe adding those ones in there would have been a perfect A for me to bring it all the way through. But with the 25% moving on, it hit a decent part of what we're looking for a complete test. But finally, I grew up in Canada where everyone holds hands, sings Kumbaya, and all the T-ball games ended in a tie, so nobody got their feelings hurt. And we had a grade called incomplete. And just like Ellia, I'm going to say there's so much riding on the next phase until I know what the rest of the test looks like. I'm holding that eye over them. They've done a lot of good work. They've built a good foundation, but until we know what they're setting stuff up to get probably the most important cut that we've ever had in CrossFit done in the next phase, I'm gonna hold that incomplete over them until I see the next phase.
So if you had an incomplete, would you have to go to summer school?
Yeah, it was like, you or me, you just didn't do any of your work. Like, teacher was like, it's the Tudor Magda. They're like, we're pretty sure you're pretty fit, but you just didn't do the work. So we don't want to like ruin your life, but like, come on, kid, get with the program.
I like that. 3 points for Kenny. James, what is your grade for the open?
I'm going to be a tough grader here. I think I give him a B+. Right on
a
the
tough
edge
grader, a B+. That's not a tough grader.
Well, and I think that's a tough grade because I think for the 75%, I think they really knocked it out of the park this year. And again, I'm just an audience of one, but I've always complained internally, like I think there should be no 20-minute workouts in the open. That might be sacrilegious to the CrossFit programming purists. But I think because it's like the 15-minute is just so much easier to run for 2 heats in a class. Like even the best coaches, 20 minutes is a challenge. But I will say this year's workout, the 20-minute the way it was set up wasn't as tough, even though it included a rower. But also our gym has a ton of rowers. So I think for the 75%, I would probably lean toward giving the open an A. And I think unlike everyone else here, I kind of let go of this concept of trying to make the open a complete test. It's 3 tests. The game says 15, and I think we still walk away from the game saying, oh, they could have hit this one thing. So maybe the open could be a more complete test in some cases, but I worry about that part of it a little bit less as long as the tests feel, look, and are different. And so I think where I give some knocks against the grading is I'm just comparing it to our highest participation year. Yes, I'm looking quantity over quality on this one. But what was that, 2018? Whatever year we had over 400,000. We're not quite back to that yet. And I think if we can get back to that and we can have a complete quarterfinals and we can have the ease of implementing this inside of affiliates, I think that's when we get that A again. I feel like we're taking steps back in that direction. I hope we are. So I give it a B+.
I'll give you 3 points for that.
Good.
Nobody really got hung up on the workout leak. That kind of surprised me. Do we not really care? I'm just
point, don't we?
Internally, we care a lot. 2 years ago. We care a lot.
Sure, and yeah, I don't want to make it a small deal, but I guess I was surprised that Ellia was the only one that brought it up in her debate.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
Really
exactly. It doesn't change anything. And also, I still think it's a good sign that if like when we make little trip ups or mistakes, that people still get excited about it. It's like the fact that people are like, "Oh, there's a leak," and they're that excited, like that's a good thing overall. Like if the workouts got leaked and no one gave a shit, then I'd be like, we have a huge problem, guys. So yeah, mistake, things we have to change and update. It has happened in the past. It kind of stinks from the fidelity perspective of just the workflow of the season and trying to get all those moving parts right. I don't know. Worse things could have happened.
Yeah. And I still sat there and I was like, I'm waiting until they announce it because I'm not preparing anything until I know for sure, because who knows, right?
You never know.
You never know. And on the other side, I'd say, like, from an open announcement standpoint, it's so fun to have those back. They're doing a great job. Can we just like brief the athletes and know everything that we need to, so we're not going back and going like somebody touched somebody's rope, somebody loaded the wrong barbell, like that's such a cool showcase. And it does it change anything? Not really. Some people sometimes have to redo a workout, but like we should own the professionalism of that piece. And maybe it doesn't need to be 5 minutes after they announce the workout that they're doing it. It could be 10. And we have an opportunity to make sure everybody knows how we're going to execute this on the biggest stage with everybody watching. It's one of the most watched things that we put out all year for our community. We should be hitting the nail on the head for that one every single time.
Yeah, over 1 million views. They're crushing it on YouTube right now, the open announcement. So kudos to that. And that means Ellia Miller is our champion of the week. Congratulations, Ellia. 30 seconds. You get to stand on the podium pedestal. Let's hear what you have to say today.
All right. We already kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think that there needs to be a separation of CrossFit and the sport of CrossFit. I know they're separate departments within CrossFit, but I think that there needs to be a bigger separation, because right now I think there's a lot of conflicting interests of CrossFit as a methodology, wanting to do things for the affiliate and for the community, and CrossFit as a sport, wanting to do things for the athletes in the competitive season. And I think there's just too much conflict there, and there needs to be more of a split for each entity to be able to focus on what's most important to them.
Separation of church and state. Well, thanks, guys. Now we are looking fast forwarding to quarterfinals. It's going to be here before we know it. I'm sure that more details will be coming out soon. We have an extended window of when we can complete those workouts. Top 25% advances. But James, Ellia, Kenny, thank you guys all for being a part of another episode of Death By. Thank you to our sponsor, Thirdsy. We love our little travel packs and our at-home packs, giving us the best sleep we've ever had. Congratulations, Ellia, and we will see you all next time.